Let's bring in Needham analyst Raji Gill. Raji, welcome. What do you think were the biggest takeaways for investors today?
Well, this was probably one of the most comprehensive, the most compelling analyst days I've witnessed for Nvidia, and I've been covering Nvidia for well over a decade. There are a couple of kind of major things that were quite exciting. I think number one was their new GPU. It was the Hopper H100 processor. This has 80 billion transistors. It's 6 times the performance of the previous Ampere architecture that was introduced 2 years ago. And one of the interesting stats that Jensen Huang, the CEO, mentioned, if you have 20 of these H100s, it can basically power the whole world's internet traffic. That's how powerful and computational this new chip is. So this chip basically is going to enable the adoption of more advanced machine learning and artificial intelligence into enterprises, whether that's deep recommender systems, genomic sequencing, natural language understanding. Because of the raw speed, it will enable that level of processing. I think the second thing that was very interesting, and I think speaks to the longer-term potential of Nvidia, is the software opportunity. They outlined about a $300 billion TAM just in software. They're building a long-term subscription software model by licensing their software to enterprise servers,
right,
also to the Omniverse.
And this has been one of your themes, Nvidia into a software company. I'm just curious, why do you think the stock is lower today on the back of some of these, as you're describing, pretty bullish announcements?
Yeah, I mean, the stock had, as you mentioned, rallied, 20%, heading into this analyst day. There might have been an expectation that the CFO would have raised the near-term outlook, but to me, this is just kind of near-term kind of trading. The bigger picture is the revenue growth, the earnings growth, and the TAM, the total addressable market that's available for Nvidia. And if you look at Nvidia's been growing about 200% over the last 4 years. It's grown earnings, net income, 300% over the last 4 years. It's one of the most pristine financial companies, not only in semiconductors, but of all of technology. The TAMs are enormous, $1 trillion TAM that's available.
So are you changing your numbers on this? It's still about 24% off the highs for Nvidia. Are you changing your numbers, the valuation, on the back of what you heard today?
I have a street high price target of $400. The $400 equates to a $1 trillion market cap company. This would be the first $1 trillion semiconductor company. That only is about 50 times next year's earnings. So I have them doing about $8 of earnings, and the multiple expanding back to 50 times. At one point, Nvidia was trading at 60 times. The multiple is compressed to 35 times. But if you look at other tech companies like Tesla or software companies that basically either have no earnings or a fraction of the earnings, they're trading at well above 50 times already. So 50x times $7 to $8 of EPS is not that far-fetched, and I think stock ultimately will get to.
And just really quickly, Raji, any implications for any of NVIDIA's competitors or maybe its suppliers?
I think this is, there really is no competitive implication except maybe perhaps to Intel. But essentially, NVIDIA has been at the forefront of pushing artificial intelligence and machine learning into the enterprise, into the hyperscalers, into vertical industries. This is a secular kind of theme. This is not going to slow down. And then the ultimate kind of move to 3D virtual worlds through the Omniverse, virtualizing physical worlds, whether it's designing skyscrapers or designing buildings and doing that in the virtual world enabled by NVIDIA software. This is, again, a completely new market that NVIDIA is leading. So it's not really relevant to look at the competitive landscape. It's really more relevant to look at where the revenue growth is now and can it grow into these massive TAMs that are available to the company.
A lot of people watching TSMC as well, longtime supplier for Intel. Raji, thank you for joining us. Raji Gill on NVIDIA.